Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So guess what? Amazon Basics, because they make now everything under the Amazon brand, is also making watercolor paints. I have their colored pencils, which to be honest aren't bad for a budget pencil. So when I saw this, I was like, well, let's give it a shot. So it just comes in this little box here, obviously plastic wrapped here. Doesn't really say anything other than, the usual don't ingest. 24 colors. So let me get this open and we'll take a look at the tubes. Well, they sure are basic in style. Now, there's no way these are artist grade. And if they are, I'd be pleasantly surprised because 1, no light fast rating. 2, no pigment information. So just going off of 2 factors. But it would be kind of fun to see what these are like, right? So it looks like we have a white, lemon yellow, pale yellow, a gambogic, interesting, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, orange yellow, crimson lake. So, I mean, we have quite a few colors. Lamp black. Let's see, a couple purples, reds. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these up and just see what they look like. Are they chalky? Are they a pretty nice finish? These, of course, would be something like maybe a beginner watercolor would want to grab to follow tutorials and mixing. Well, mixing might be hard because you don't actually know what pigments are in these, but for the most part, you can kind of sort of maybe practice some mixing. And then, yeah, just so you know what they would look like. So if you want to go follow some tutorials, let's see is this going to explode on me? No. Oh, lucky me. They're all individually wrapped. That's going to take a while. even the artist grade ones are too lazy for that now. Well, I will get my swatch chart ready, and then we will swatch these away and see what they look like. I did want to show you, the lid has a little thing in there that's supposed to puncture the top. However, it's not a thick enough puncture. This one might work, but on most of the others I've been doing, the tin foil goes inward so the paint actually can't come out, but A for effort. Okay, so I have all of our little boxes. I'm just using an Etcher cold press 100% cotton sketchbook. I will try to remember to link it in the description below. I put all the little dots here just on a ceramic palette. These are really handy, especially for this kind of situation. And then I am using my number 8 round silver black velvet. I have my paint puck cups. Yes, there's 2 standing by. And yeah, we are going to check them out. Okay, so let's start with white, which one would assume is probably made with PW6, but you know what they say about assuming. When that's gonna make some noise, isn't it? All right. It is indeed white. Lemon yellow, which I will note, the lemon yellow and all the other yellows when coming out of the tube almost had the consistency of gouache, but they seem to be watering down okay. Yellow pale. I don't know why that was so hard to say. Gambogic. Again, I don't have pigment info for you. They don't have it. Yellow ochre. That one has to have some sort of white in it. It's awfully pasty. Burnt sienna. And I am swatching wet to dry, but that's because this is how I paint. And you should always swatch in the way you paint so that you can see how your paints and colors are actually going to look using your own method. Orange yellow. Crimson lake. Still think I got a little violet undertone on that one. Vermilion. burnt umber, and I apologize for the jets. Lamp black. Raw umber. Scarlet. It's pretty washed out red. Rose violet. Mauve. Violet. Ooh, that's pretty. Quite like a dioxazine violet, to be honest. Light green. Sap green. Oops. Went up there and tapped my pink. Deep green. Phthalo green, whether it's blue or red shade, they don't say, although it does seem to be more of a blue leaning. Cerulean blue. Cobalt blue. Ultramarine. That's a pretty one. Okay, Prussian blue. Actually quite a lovely color. So here we have them swatched. The colors are definitely muted compared to, say, an artist grade version of these, especially when you look at like the scarlet, or their sap green is quite sad. Their blues are actually not too bad. The Prussian blue is pretty nice. Same with the raw umber. The vermilion was kind of disappointing as well. Yellow ochre, I feel, the lemon as well had some sort of mix of white or something, because even when I rinsed off my brush, there was some white milkiness to it. But again, like I said, this is a budget set, so I'm not going to judge it based on artist quality. This is strictly, hey, this is a super cheap set of watercolors. Could you use this to paint with? Well, here's the thing. Yes, you can use any paint, because paint is actually not the biggest factor in how your artwork comes out. In fact, it starts with the paper. So start on good paper and use the crappiest of paints, and you're still going to do better than if you use super cheap watercolor paper, say one that's not even 100% cotton, and then you're using cheap paints. Then you're going to notice some differences. So paper always comes first. However, paint quality does eventually play a role, especially when it comes to mixing, performance, and whatnot. And then, of course, brushes. That said, do you have to spend money on, say, a silver black velvet? Absolutely not. You can go get a Princeton Heritage brush for super cheap. It's all preference. I just enjoy the super pointy edge of the silver black velvet. It's mainly the style of the round. So for this budget paint set, you could easily use this and follow people's tutorials and play around with it and kind of even, you know, learn watercolor for cheap and then upgrade to a set. Or from there, start replacing your colors in here with the artist grade version. Like, so lemon yellow, you know, go replace it with a Daniel Smith lemon yellow. Now, am I saying go name for name? Not necessarily, because as you guys know from my comparison series, names really don't mean squat. Pigment number is what matters. But in this case, you get my point. You can kind of mix and match a little bit. You can go grab a yellow ochre from somewhere else, a scarlet from somewhere else. But we'll do a little painting in my other sketchbook that is actually for painting. And we'll see how some of these colors look when they're actually in use, because swatching is about, 25% of the real test. So let's see. Okay, so I'm back with another etcher, cold press 100% cotton book. This is just, I'm gonna be picking colors at random, basically whatever I have the most of on my palette, so nothing. And really I just kind of want to see what I can get from this. And I prefer very, very loose florals. I'm going to try and reactivate this sap green and see if I can get a little bit more beauty out of it, but it is quite the light color. I'm not going to lie to you. When I look at it, I'm like, oh, that thing is so sad. Let's see, we'll take a dab of this one maybe. Just drop it in there. I mean, they're painting. It's always a good start, right? Try this other blue too and mix it in there. Because like I said, I'm not really going for anything. I'm just trying to see how this can turn out. I have a little bit more of this other green. I don't have tons on my palette just because I didn't want to waste paint. What's fun is I'm not really rinsing my brush off too much, so we're gonna get kind of like a weird mismatch of colors. But maybe that'll be fun. Because like I said, I'm just trying to see what the heck we can make here. I'm so sorry for the construction noise. We are all stuck with it a wee bit longer. Ooh, that blue mixed in with the purple. It's quite lovely. My very sloppy rose. I think I'll grab and get a little bit more concentrated. I mean, the colors really aren't too shabby here. Let's see if I can mix some of this blue and green together. My brush is very dry, but I'm trying to not have it too wet because these colors really water down. Goodness gracious, what are they doing over there with the construction? All right, we're gonna grab both these purples and make a new purple. Just have that one kind of trail off. That one trail off a little. Literally just doodling away just to kind of see what they feel like on this paper. Let's grab this one because it wasn't super pretty when I swatched it. I can see the milkiness on my palette, so that's why I think. And this has some purple on the brush, so this will be fun. It's gonna have an interesting look to it, that's for sure. Let's see if I can get more of this green. At this point, I'm just mixing some blue and green. Make a nice long leaf there. So the colors are definitely muted, as you can see, but I mean, you could sit here and play around with it for sure. And like, I mean, they don't seem like they would be too bad for beginners or even seasoned watercolorists who just want something cheap, whether they're practicing a new technique or they just want to you know, practice their strokes, or maybe even, where's this other brown? I'm gonna mix it with a little of this orange. You know, maybe you just bought a new brush and you want to practice some strokes with it, but you don't want to break out your expensive Sennelier paints and waste them. These could be a good option as well. But again, there's no light fast, no pigment info. It does say it met ASTM standards, but I mean, that only means so much. So, I mean, overall, not too shabby of paints. Definitely worth it if you're a beginner, but if you already have a bunch of artist grade paints, I wouldn't necessarily say go out and buy these. But they are not too shabby. They soak in nicely. The colors are quite smooth. But again, this is definitely, like I said, there's some white fillers here and there. And like their greens were just so pale and pathetic. You honestly would be better off making your own green. And you guys know I'm all about convenience mixes, so there's nothing worse than me having to be like, oh, I gotta make my own green? Ooh. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, but really not too shabby. If you're looking for a really cheap set to start off with watercolor, I would say go ahead and give the Amazon Basics watercolor a shot. Let me know if you tried these. I'm curious if anyone has tried them out, what you think, and until next time, take care. Bye now.